Hey, there's a little blue bar as ever says that we are live on today's Tuesday, the 19th of June, 2018. On the panel with me today is Patricia. And then
Hi,
also,
everyone.
hello, Patricia. And our special guest is James.
Hey.
Hello, James. How are you?
Oh, feeling okay. I'm feeling quite happy. Things are going very well.
Well, because you like talking about this subject, don't you? We don't really like the subject, but it's just your conclusion to life. We had a good hangout last night with Permission to Exist. That was a really good hangout. But just before we went live, I asked you if narcissism is linked into this anxiety which you talk about, and you said yes. Do you want to explain a little bit?
That is true because we have to take into account that this thing exists, like, say, in this much. The normal understanding of life is about this much. It's the surface level politics of it. And actually we're operating under this much, right? So basically this is if the common belief, and we know the common belief is that anxiety is virtuous. Conventional wisdom of the world is that anxiety is virtuous. And this is why religion is this is the only thing that gives religion its relevance, the belief that anxiety is virtuous, because it's a stylistic representation of the political aspirations of anxiety. So anxiety, I used to think for a long, long time now, I used to think that narcissism was corrupted prowess. Okay, and so it's like someone who wanted to do something really amazing, and then the opportunity got stolen from them, and they were extremely disgruntled after that. They were disgruntled, and they were unhappy, man. And so when they speak to someone, that's when it comes out. That's when it shows. But you see, it's difficult. It's difficult to understand what narcissism is with conventional wisdom, because anxiety exists in the imperative. And when I say that, this is what you get when people believe that anxiety is virtuous. Okay, because it goes beyond.
Explain a bit more about that.
Yeah, it goes beyond. See, my saying anxiety is virtuous, this is the extrapolated out reality. This is the political correctness of anxiety, carrying oneself with the, having the political optics that anxiety is virtuous. See, it starts out by using and utilizing anxiety to protect oneself, which is what this little baby that does not possess language learns to do very quickly. Okay, very quickly. And so narcissism, this is jealousy. This is jealousy because the person that has the narcissism is forever, they're forever stuck in this place where they've lost. And they are, like, my father was very like that. And it's like I had the rationale where he was extremely jealous.
They can't move on in time.
No, they can't. No, because that's the thing with consciousness. It exists now, and it always exists now. And so the reaction in the person from the emotional trauma in the early years is brought forth with them, as per the event, so it might be quite a high level of tension. There might be a lot, that's why people get reactive really fast, and they choose these ways of life that express that are an indication of that. So that's why you get these criminal people, young people that being criminals, right? See, the first thing that happens for that is they've got to be disassociated from community. Okay, and so you get the event there. You're talking about narcissism.
Disassociated by immunity. What does that mean?
Well, that means that they didn't grow up with any evidence of relationships. Okay, so they get the impression, the political optics is that they can't be a part of this, right? And so you can see, that it's very easy to disassociate someone from community or a relationship, okay, at the early stage by just giving that big vote of no confidence, which is the event of narcissism, actually. It's the big put down, right? You're getting there. Like, I had this experience, right? I was in this place, right? And this guy there, he was the head of a department, and I just kind of started there, and it was only a temp role anyway. But I just kind of started there, and I was even giving him a ride home in his car because he talked me into that because that's what they do. They start out being really, really friendly with you, and that's my experience, right? That's my experience. And so anyway, we're having Smoko there. We went into Smoko, and he got really, really angry with everyone there. He got really, really angry with me for not filling up the sugar bowl. Okay, so that's that expression of narcissism, and his state was he was really angry. He had situations where he had suffered a major injustice, actually, and that left him feeling really, really angry. So the political optics were that he was really, really angry with this event, and so this could have happened anywhere. This could have happened as a baby without language, where you wanted to get picked up, you wanted to communicate with people, your mum and dad, and they just completely ignored you, or even did the opposite, got angry with you that you wanted attention. And so to a baby that does not possess language, this is the seriousness of it. This is really
a child's home life growing up. That's what turns them into a narcissist, or is there something you in them?
Because it's about the relationship between the child and the parents, and because that's who the child looks up to most. The child is born into the world, wakes up, opens their eyes, right, and so in the first day or first days, when they're actually looking around and listening and that, and if this event happens then, but what could be, see, this is the freak accident part, right? This is the freak accident part we've got to understand, because that event could happen, and that happened to me, I could say, really. But that event happened where the person that the child looks to and absolutely needs the parent, right, to expand their consciousness, okay, well, and the parent completely ignores them. Well, what if it is being hungry for too long? Because that kind of has the same thing, where your focus is completely taken off the relationship, right? And you focus solely on the thing, or being sick for some reason, or being in pain for some reason, or could be a physical thing going on that causes that. But the fact is, though, that the person carries that with them their whole life. And so that's what sets up the perception of relationships. And so the narcissist, right, they have a thing where they have a big axe to grind. They've got a big grudge, okay, and they want to actually tell you about that. And they need the personality type that is similar to the situation that originally put them in that state. So if people say you then.
So they're kind of looking for a victim anyway. Then I mean, we kind of talked about all this last night, but you're just putting it in a different way. But so they're looking for a victim then.
They are, because they've got this burning desire to express this, which is the anxiety. This is the aspirations of anxiety, to have a burning desire to express that you're in control. And so that's definitely in the mix there. And so they need that personality type. But the big thing is, you can look at this one thing and this extrapolates out in different ways, man. This one thing is that these bullies, right? Because that's what bullying is. It's narcissism, right? Oh, really? In that situation, with the level of vocabulary and how able a person is to articulate themselves, right? So in the schoolyard, they got none of that because they're just little kids, right? And so they use the physical violence thing and the very obvious basic kind of thing of you're not as good as us thing, right? And so this is narcissism again. And so I say that narcissism, this is anxiety in the affirmative, in the imperative, and this is how it is expressed. And because anxiety, the political entity, it needs a political win all the time. And you might have noticed that these narcissisms and sociopaths, right, carry on like they don't have any memory. They think they need to keep proving their point at every opportunity, man. And so that tells me that, see, consciousness does have a memory, right? And I know that all these people that are doing this, they have a memory, but they're not doing it because they haven't got a memory. They're doing it because anxiety is a compulsion. Because anxiety is a compulsion, because consciousness is a compelling thing. This is the other side of this conversation. The actual character of consciousness is driven.
So basically, it's going for negative. What do you call it? Attention.
Yeah. Well, attention for negative reasons. So why would that be? What's going on there? They want attention for a negative reason. So that's because they believe that anxiety is virtuous. Okay, and they want to get the blessing of anxiety. They want to get the pat on the head from anxiety. And so they do things that anxiety likes, which is create tension and conflict. And so that's why I say the revelation of the 8 laws fits every facet of the human experience. And the behavior of narcissists falls exactly in line with that. And so, because that's the outcome. Tell you this thing that happened to me. I went in to move into this house in this town called Masterton in the Wairarapa up there. And this guy's mother answered the ad about about moving in. So I moved into this house, and like literally within 3 days, this guy was trying to force himself into this room I was in, while he had these two bull terrier dogs with him. So he wanted the dogs to attack me, right? Okay, so I didn't let him in. And see, this guy was like, literally, he's only 5 foot tall, and he's a little skinny guy, and I'm like literally a third heavier than him. He's like, and so how see how completely disassociated from reality he was. And so this is why I say it's not actually the face value is never the reality. And in that instance, what the narcissist is saying to you is totally not the reality. That's their wish list. The narcissism will tell you their wish list of how they want you to feel. And that's an indication of their needs. So the bully thing, this is they seek out the appropriate victim, and so they they can manipulate events so they can seem to be bigger and stronger and wiser, okay, because that's the actual truth of it. They feel like this small. Their consciousness has been made to be retracted, significantly retracted, and the more retracted their consciousness has been made to be, it's been made to be like that, or you'll get a proportionate response to try and balance that by how the narcissism tries to capture the mind of other people, because then that seems like they're bigger, and it's actually what they're trying to do is it's a robbery of consciousness, because if they can lower the consciousness in you, that means their consciousness automatically looks bigger. Okay, and this is the political sphere. Okay, and so that serves as a detailed explanation of the event of a narcissist attacking someone. And while the vast majority of events of the narcissist is only a verbal thing, they haven't actually physically done anything. It's a verbal thing. It's entirely an emotional ambush, right? And that's the purpose of it, is to have you retract your consciousness, and so they feel bigger in relation to you. And that's why these people they seriously hunt down an appropriate victim where they can get the best result for that. And so what you got there is you got consciousness on life support. That's kind of what it's like. Consciousness on life support, where it's got to do these consciousness robberies against other people to create the political optics so that they're bigger, right? And see, I've known sociopaths, man. I've had two right fucking up close personal experiences with sociopaths. Really, well, three there. That dog man one, and see. So my wisdom is that I didn't react to any of that. I didn't buy into it, and I didn't react to it, and so that's how I come out of that, come through that with more wisdom and more objectivity about that. Because without experiencing that first-hand experience of the narcissist or the sociopath, people don't realize the actual truth of it, the actual serious nature of it, and the actual event, the intricate, the nuances in the event, where that moment where your consciousness is being made to contract significantly, and there, how the perpetrator, how they change because of that event, right? And so, and they need the win because they need the political optics that anxiety is virtuous. Because you might say that's all they've got. That's all they've got. And because if they are in the state where they hardcore, that's a military grade. That's the belief that anxiety is virtuous at the military level, right? Where you're actually consciously designing strategies to ambush people and destroy them. Okay, and then this is what it's because of. It's because their consciousness has had an event where they've been massively retracted, and there would be a tipping point. There would be a tipping point in the human being, in the human mind, right? Of how significant event needs to happen to where they stay there, and that's the narcissist and sociopath. They've actually not been able to bounce back when this happened, as a little baby that didn't possess language, or as a small child, or even a teenager. I mean, the earlier it is, the more easily this can be, the more easily this can happen. The more higher risk of it happening there is.
It usually happens when they have children, though, yeah?
Oh, yeah, little kids are way more susceptible to it, because you look at the narcissists, they go about looking for a victim to achieve this result the easiest, right? And the younger a person is, the easier it is to do that.
What do you make of people that do it publicly? You know, like there's channels that do it. What do you make of that when someone's doing that?
Well, I think like you're talking about this guy on this channel. You see, without what I think of it, what I think of it is without with this format, right, that we've existed in, the civilization has existed in, that the belief that conventional wisdom is that anxiety is virtuous, and because of the landscape of it is populated by political optics, anxiety is now really reached the level of it being a deity to the human being. And so this guy doing this, or anyone doing this, they know that the people believe that anxiety is virtuous because they want to do something. They want to do something because of their narcissism. They want to do something that's politically credible. Okay, so a little word of advice to anyone who's faced with a narcissist: it's very easy to turn them off. Okay, because what you've got to do is you've got to see, this is where my wisdom has come along, man. You've got to let them do their thing, and they'll do it. They'll pull out their gnarliest, their most effective little strategies, man, of grabbing your consciousness in the most effective way they can to achieve the result. Have them do that, but then calmly and assertively put them down. Okay, calmly and assertively put them down. Because your first instinct will be according to that contraction that they have made happen. The first instincts would be to, react according to that retraction, and that is a thing where you'll give the political optics that you're in pain, you're in a weakened state, that they shouldn't be doing this to me, But that's all the things that the narcissist wants to hear. Okay, and so that's actually the political optics of it, because people think that narcissism, it's about the words that they're saying, and it's not. It's about the political optics of the event, because in reality, consciousness is real. And that's the thing missing from the understanding of narcissism. At this point, because of religion, because of the cultural shock event of birth, because of conventional wisdom, everyone thinks that anxiety is wisdom. And we think that anxiety is consciousness. And so once you know that consciousness is real, all of that stops. You see, narcissism, this is aggressive anxiety. This is all it is. It's aggressive anxiety in the affirmative, in the imperative, and it's put to you it's a replication of the function of anxiety. And so, and their goal is to achieve the same goal that anxiety achieves in the mind, which is to make you contract a whole lot and capitulate to whatever they want. And so that's like narcissism. And so without the data there, without the knowledge that current consciousness is real, you're going to get nowhere. And that's why in the whole Western world, nobody can seemingly figure out social problems. Nobody can figure out social problems, because a lot of crime. You talk about narcissism. Well, that it's not. Narcissism is narcissism. But that's just one state of the issue, and there are different nuances and different shades of it. And so in another shade, someone who's less narcissistic, they'll be a car thief, right? Someone who's less narcissistic, they'll be doing different things. And so this is why I say the thing is that big. It's not this big. The guy with the channel, like you're talking about, he's talking about it at a perspective that's like this big. But actually, the format, the actual format of the issue is this big, because it's actually been driven by the character of consciousness, and that is not negotiable. Okay, we exist like this much. It's our language. And how we have instinctively how the human being instinctively conceptualizes what the process is saying according to the means to express the process. That's what we instinctively learn to do as this life form that lives on planet Earth. And that's a major problem. And that I've objectively pointed that out and found that out, realized that this changes the whole way we can actually think about things. And we know from that there is a massive amount of language. We've got 90% more language we need to learn to accommodate what the process is actually doing, what consciousness is actually doing. And so,
well, thanks for that, James. Thanks so much. But just because I asked you this question before we came on, so thank you very much for answering it. I'll pass this over to Permission to Exist as well, because I'm sure she'd like to hear this. I will. You've come on to talk about the 8 laws of anxiety.
Yeah, that's great. Because
Is it?
Yes, it's a fantastic thing that I'm coming on to talk about this, because it's the only thing that there really is. Okay, like we were just saying there about narcissism. There's not much difference between that and the CIA. Okay, and there's this is at the very macro end of it.
You know what Permission to Exist said last night? She said they're like killers that don't kill. They can't have the courage to actually kill you, but they mentally kill you instead.
Political optics, Karen. Political optics is the economy of the political sphere, and it's the economy of consciousness as well. It is the language of consciousness. Okay, and so that's exactly right. See that observation there? That is. It's exactly as I was saying. See, she can't actually say, she can't articulate actually the actual thing about it. She's not allowed to. So that's why she has this analogy where they're killers, but they don't want to kill you. Okay, well that's anxiety. They haven't
quite got the guts to actually kill you, but they really, that's what they really want to do, so they just do it in a different way.
Yeah, I know, but that's the political optics of what they're doing. They don't want to kill anyone because that would mean, that they can't have that political win over them. They can't be used. They can't be used to get points off. And so their only goal is to achieve the aspirations of anxiety, the political correctness of anxiety. And so they only need to make you feel like that. I can guarantee everyone that we're having this conversation, and I've got what I've got to say, and I've got my political party going, this is all going to stop soon, Because when everyone knows that anxiety is not politically credible anymore, then no one will do it, because that is the only reason they are doing it. See, again, the people there she's talking about, they do that because the person that believes in courage has a certain set of values, and according to those values, this thing here does its thing to control that thing. Okay, so if this here changes its behavior and beliefs, this here has to change the behavior and beliefs as well. Okay, and so then that will stop happening. Because here's the thing, right? These people that do this, these people that use what I call, she says, oh, they want to kill us, but they just don't. Well, I say that that's actually a replication of the function of anxiety. And so people replicate the function of anxiety, as I say, because of the values of courage and consciousness, right? And so when we are objective about this matter, they will have to stop doing that, because they'll know not only is it not politically credible, but we have sound reason to be very angry with them for doing this. So it's a complete reversal of the situation, because at the moment people are allowed to do that. That narcissism and how the different formatting situations that narcissism exists in, okay, that will have to stop, because the only reason that works is because courage acknowledges anxiety. It's the only reason. And that goes back to the baby that does not possess language in the experience. And then it further goes back to the fact that we are consciousness, and consciousness is real, and it is the character of consciousness we're talking about. Okay? And so you can talk about the situation of one person and an interaction and an event between two people, and I can promise you that extrapolates out exactly to the situation of the whole of history and every person in the world, and the relationship between like religion and the people, and how the big system of governance that exists in the West, they replicate that according to that relationship they're having with, how it's virtually the parasite. It's the relationship between the parasite and the host. Okay. And so that's the thing of it. That's the political optics of it, But according to what I have to say about this, these people that go about doing this, they have no idea they're doing it. And because when anxiety is in the imperative, it doesn't look like anxiety, it looks like wisdom. And so that's the delusion. That's the delusion.
Yeah, I think that's that very important word you're saying, like what people think are wisdom and all those things. They're not. They're not what you think they are.
No, they don't know. They think they've been wise because they've been successful. They're successfully replicating the function of anxiety, and they're getting an appropriate response, which is to have the people or person retract emotionally, right? And then they get that political optics win. But also, so that's the relationship between this one and this one. Okay, so the result of that between the person that is doing it and a group, okay, that they have achieved this win. It makes them look like a powerful person to a group, right? And so you can see, if I can just go on a little segue here, you can see how way back in the day, the authorities always had a military presence, right? A military force, because having a military force is like replicating the function of anxiety. If you don't agree with me, I will cause you pain. Okay? And that's why people, they use force as a means to protect themselves. Okay? And this extrapolates right back to the narcissist, right? And how they do that. That's an exact copy of the narcissist thing. They inflict pain on people, or the threat of pain. And that's much more the commonality. That's much more common, is the threat of pain. The implied threat of pain. Okay. And so this is why this understanding with the 8 laws and how consciousness is actually real, this actually fits every single thing going on. Everything going on, man. It's and so yeah, if you tell the narcissist, if you give them a copy of the 8 laws, and you watch what they do, they'll look gutted. They'll look gutted, and they'll look like they're just completely like, it's like a Manchester United supporter after they've lost type thing. And anyone can do that. As I should have been at there Monday, but I think I got too busy. But I'm going to go out today. I've got to go see about this job, and I'm going to take my 8 laws political party thing out, and I'm going to go and hand them out around the place. And so, because that's why I think it has to happen. So, as the sooner that is public knowledge that anxiety, the revelation of the 8 laws exists, anxiety will cease to be credible. Anxiety will cease to be politically credible, because it's a means for everyone to be objective about it. because that's what the narcissism does. You know, this is the narcissist. They confront you with something that's really trivial, okay, and they load up the tone of the voice with all sorts of seriousness. I mean, it's like you've robbed them at gunpoint or something, and you know, but they do it about something that's really, really, really trivial, and that way you've got no means to protect yourself from what they're saying, because the fact that it's really, really trivial, you actually just can't compute that, right? Because it's just nobody cares about this thing, right? Okay. And so that's another bit of trickery they do. They attack you about something that's really trivial, making it out seeming that it's really, really, really important, and loading up their voice with tension. Okay, and they're very skilled at increasing tension. Okay, and this is replicating how anxiety works in the mind. And another thing they're really, really, really good at doing is changing the subject within a sentence. Okay, changing the subject within a sentence. So they'll start out with this thing, and it's like this. They'll go on, and the emotion. See, this is how it works, right? The emotional tone of the voice will carry they're in a lot of pain, that they need help really badly. They need really help, and they'll come to you about that, right? And when you start being concerned, because the natural instinct of consciousness is to help, right, which they're fully aware of. And so once you start, once you express the political optics that you are concerned about them, within a sentence, I'm not kidding, within a sentence, they will flip it around to where you're responsible. Okay, now that has happened to me, because I've noticed this, right? So yeah, it's a true thing, right? So if you look at that, that's a conversation on its own, though. The tone of the voice, the political optics are largely generated with the tone of the voice. Okay, and so that's a valuable thing to know. So you could have that, you could be objective about that and know that. And so when you hear these particular kind of mannerisms in the tone of the voice, that's the red flag, man. That is this darkness coming over the horizon for you. Okay, when those political optics are in the tone of the voice, you know they are going to ambush you. And so that's what I've known from my experience. Yeah, I should turn my camera on.
Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about what these 8 laws are then, James?
Yeah, right. So the 8 laws, right? I'll just, can I quickly do that? It's going to be tricky. Now, look, here we go. So first of all, anxiety is a political entity because of this. I realise that if everyone's concealing their anxieties, right, and everyone allows everyone else to conceal their anxieties, okay, everyone's been lying through their teeth the whole time. Okay, that's a civilization thing, right? Okay, so that realization put me on this next one. That the media promoting, the media and largely religion, right, constantly going on about bad news all the time. Okay, that is promoting anxiety as virtuous. While all the problems they talk about have their genesis in an anxiety. Okay, that's a pattern of circular logic. Okay, and but the real thing of it is that if we're lying through our teeth, if we're concealing our anxieties, and we're allowing other people to conceal their anxieties, anxiety is a political entity because it governs language. Because language is the expression of consciousness. Language is our primary expression of consciousness. And it's actually, language. Language. And so that's when I back engineered it to that it is the culture shock event of birth. It allowed me to realize that the event of birth is a culture shock event. You know what I mean? And so this brings anxiety into existence. But as a political entity, it would serve to explain why people can't figure out any social problems. And I think the relationship there where the first law of anxieties and the second law of all anxieties, okay. Okay, so what happens to that? What happens to that?
One moment, James, you're breaking up a little bit.
What happens to those, that political agreement? What happens to that political? What happens to that political agreement?
Don't know if you can hear me.
When anxiety exists in the imperative, that's what we've got. Okay, so the other law is you must accept when someone wants to ignore. The fourth law of anxiety, which is a majorly common one, man. The fourth law of anxiety is you must accept without question the dishonesty caused by the first three laws. Okay, so that catalyzes the other four. And I've got them here in my little bag. And so I put this on my Facebook page, actually. And so anyway, the first two laws conceptualize the other six. So the fifth law of anxiety is you must acquiesce to they that are expressing the most anxiety, which is narcissism. So that fifth law of anxiety, you must acquiesce to they that are expressing the most anxiety. Okay, that comes from the culture shock event of birth, and that first impression. Okay, and that moment where anxiety is given a high value, and so narcissism, this is why they are allowed to do this. This is why there is nothing in popular culture or the media about the sociopath and the narcissist. Have you noticed that? There is a zero. Well, except for movies, of course, where they're portrayed as heroes. Okay, the sixth law of anxiety. This also goes back to the cultural shock event of birth. You must always express loyalty to the laws of anxiety. Okay, and seventh law of anxiety, which here's the narcissist again. You must disrupt and maintain an ongoing disruption to they that seek to challenge the laws of anxiety. Right, and that's what narcissisms do.
Hello? James? Oh no, right in full force, he has frozen. Patricia, is it just me?
No, it's not you.
No, right in full force. We seem to have this problem every now and again with him, don't we, when we're talking with him, that we suddenly lose him.
Yeah.
And it was going really well, wasn't it? I mean, the actual connection.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And we can hear you today. Hooray, Patricia.
I know. I've got a voice again. Yay.
Yeah, because it's your internet's been like going really slow when you talk.
It's not so much my internet, it's just Google Hangouts. I can go on the watch page, I can listen to anything on YouTube, anything. It's not the internet, it's just Google Hangouts. It just keeps kicking me off, and it's really, really annoying. But what can I do? So it's not technically the internet, it's Google Hangouts for whatever reason. Oh, it's gone completely now.
Yeah, he wasn't there anyway. When he froze, that was it. He was gone. It just took a while to go. So let's just hope that...
Maybe all the blood has
Hey,
run
there
through
he
his
is.
head.
He's back.
You there, James?
James? Well, he is there or he isn't there. James? James, can you hear us? Sorry about this chat room. You know what it is with technicalities. There's always got to be, at least one or two. Can't hear him. I don't think he's there then.
Bit like me, I'm on, but I'm not on. I'm like, can't speak, can't do anything. You just have to wait for it to load up and finish faffing about, and then you can't hear anything. They can't hear you, and you're like, I'm here. Like.
Well, that's probably how James feels right now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's probably doing the same as what I was doing the other day. Like, you're knocking on the wall saying, I'm here, and nobody can hear you. It's really, really bad. But
yeah, I don't know what to do. Well, he's gone again now. I'd like him to have finished what the 8 laws of anxiety were, considering that's why he was coming on to talk. The other bit was extra, just because I asked him this question when he came before we went live about, is this narcissist thing all linked into this anxiety? So of course he's talked about it quite a lot tonight. But anyway,
I mean, the thing of it with anxiety, I know he said it's not always a negative thing. But a lot of problems that children, I think it stems from being a child, that they're all interwoven, aren't they? It's like there's something that's happened to a child that makes them narcissistic or psychopaths or sociopaths or, these sort of things. There's something happened, it's triggered off. Maybe we all have it, but we don't have that trigger. We don't have a trigger. It's just there. Because I think sometimes you can see a bit of narcissistic thing in every single person probably. But in certain people, it's brought more to the forefront. And you can, I suppose we're all capable of it, but we have a choice. Like we were saying earlier, we have a choice. If you don't know, if you don't have empathy, you don't know if you're doing anything wrong or not. You just think, I'm right, and you just carry on and you keep doing it because you get an end goal of what you're wanting to happen. And then, but some of us, when we realise, oh, he's back again. Hiya, can you hear us, James?
James?
Oh.
Hey.
Oh.
I'm back.
Yeah, sorry. It crashed out, and I'm thinking it's quite something that it crashed out when I mentioned radical Christianity.
Can I just say one thing? Patricia I know that you were just in the mid-first. I'm really sorry that Patricia was just saying something. She doesn't say things very often. Patricia, just finish your sentence, because I'm sure James will like it.
Yeah, cool.
I can't remember where I am now. But like narcissistic things, we all have a little bit of it in us. It's just that sometimes it's not triggered.
Yeah,
it stems from a child. It's all there. We're a bit of everything.
Deary me. Look, the truth of it is, Patricia, is that consciousness is real. It's not that there's a little bit of narcissism It's not that there is the narcissism in little bits here, little shades of it. You know, that's not what's happening. You see, while people believe that consciousness doesn't exist, it seems like that's the statement to say. That's the statement to say. But actually, it's because of the character of consciousness that it feels like that. So you can see how absolutely deprived of freedom we are, while this belief that anxiety is virtuous remains conventional wisdom. It's not that there's narcissism is when consciousness has become very disgruntled and is asserting itself, and so it's the character of consciousness, and pissed off, and it's putting its baggage on you, and so that's the thing of it. It's not that there's a bit of narcissism, or as I was saying, I used to think that narcissism was corrupted prowess, and it's not the case that narcissism it is the main feature of a personality at some point here and there, but it actually is it's actually about the character of consciousness. Okay, we have the character of consciousness has been hijacked by anxiety. Okay, so the vast majority of the being in any instance is going to be consciousness, and so I mean, as you say, it does. I mean, look at people modifying cars. See, that's you could say that's narcissism, but it's good narcissism, couldn't you? Well, actually, you could just say that it's consciousness that's been creative and in a positive way. And so, yeah, but going back to, like, Karen, you were saying there that you had some people they were like being difficult.
Which ones? Anyway,
No, but I was just going to say, because that's, people have actively sought me out, and a very obvious one is if I'm in a factory environment, right, which I've worked in before. I'm not married, right? I'm single, right? Now you get a lot of these people that have been married for a long time, and they're extremely cynical. Okay, and they actually seek me out to initiate conflict with me, to make arguments happen. And that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. They want that result where they're doing better. And so it's revenge, It's revenge, it's jealousy. And because everyone instinctively knows what the aspirations of consciousness is. And so if you have something happens where those aspirations of consciousness are robbed from your future, okay, this is what narcissism is about, okay? And so see, and I've got to say again as well that in this format that we've got with the civilization, with this language we use that has been exclusively designed within the jurisdiction of the 8 laws, okay, these ways people express themselves is the result of that format, of this absolutely limited format we've got. We look like idiots. The world looks like a bunch of idiots, right? And so that's something that I want to change. That's something I want to change, because people can't do anything about what their situation is. They just can't. And that's about the character of consciousness as well. And so, anyway, so I hope to have more and more and more and more people become aware of the 8 laws, and then they will become aware that consciousness is real, and anxiety has no political credibility. And then all sorts of stuff stops. All sorts of stuff stops. So what do you think?
Yeah, well, obviously, I yeah, like the way you put the things, James, and I know that this whole thing is close to your heart, and that you're trying to actually, in this way that it is now, take this out and go political with it yourself, because you want where we live to know about this, to change it in schools.
Yep. I want to have people embrace, valuing happiness, because while under the influence of anxiety, which can be at a very subtle level, like Christians secretly don't like being happy, they like anxiety because that means their God is awesome. But it had to be something I knew. See, this is like a secret. This is like top secret stuff, man. I'm going to tell you now, top secret stuff, man. It's an indication of my relationship with consciousness and the universe, right? The universe, man. It's like where I am at, that it would see me as fit for purpose to bring this message, right? See, I knew that whatever way was going to work to change the world had to be someone that had to be something that everyone could embrace. Okay, so at a bare minimum, see, because like anxiety sees anything it doesn't like, it seeks to take over the discussion, as you've witnessed hundreds of thousands of times. Anyone has an issue, they just inject anxiety into the discussion, and it just ruins objectivity, and then that seemingly becomes the most wise perspective as well. And so anxiety has always gotten center stage because of this, right? So it had to be something where people couldn't do that. See what I mean? And so they couldn't inject anxiety perspective into it. They had to evaluate what was being tabled, objectively, and stay on subject. Okay, that's what I wanted. And so that's why it came, the revelation of the 8 laws came, because that stops anxiety-driven people from, trying to control it. Okay, effectively, it completely shuts down anyone who uses the replication of the function of anxiety for their political status, right? Which is the media and politicians and religion, right? Stop all that, right? Because actually consciousness, as you are experiencing it, as anyone that is experiencing it, Patricia, Karen, Astral, everyone in the world, this experience of consciousness is science. It is the reason, science is a product of the values of consciousness. That's all that there is to it. And but I had to have something there that would work to shut down the anxiety thing, right? Just to absolutely shut that down, because in our normal lives we don't value anxiety. We don't. We objectively want to be entertained. We want to be creative. And I mean, the show, Karen, this is your creativity, the Sun and Moon Group exists. And that we have YouTube channels, that's creative. And so there's a lot of expression of consciousness. But because of that, we don't seek, and the values of consciousness is we don't have a compulsion to control other people. We actually have a compulsion to make people smile. And we have a compulsion to help other people that are in need. And as has been, like, as I've said, there's, anxiety uses these things against us. Okay. And so something there needed to come that put the stop on that as well, where, see, retaining that focus on the subject meant that, in literally retaining the focus on the subject, okay, prevents this invasion, the invasion of the ambush artist, right? And then the focus is the consciousness thing, and so here's the dynamices where viewing anxiety as a political entity, you can figuratively hold in your hand and look at it. You are looking at it from consciousness. You know what I mean? If anxiety is a political entity, and if the language of consciousness,
it's nothing about consciousness. It's all because we are here and now. And that's the bit they don't want us here and now, do they?
No, that's right. That's right. And there's a few things there.
And time slows down a bit when you're here and now.
And that's right. And that, does time slow down? Does time slow down? Does time even exist? Because if time didn't exist, well, it wouldn't change the nature of the earth. You know, we acknowledge progression. We acknowledge progression of experience, and because of this, we have this concept of time, and then we have the day and the night, and you know the different things there, the seasons and all that, and but really, if you are truly living, Karen, would you care about time? And you can see that by how often you forget what day it is. And as you say, you seemingly can put far more like emotional events into an hour, or you know, where you truly forget what the time is. You know, so much more happens. You know, and so we should strive for that. I mean, you look at, you know, that's like amazing, because if we had a media and a system of governance that respected that we could actually experience, where we could have far more, you know, emotional experience within a short space of time. That's way more productive, right? And so, but our education system and our system of governance is seemingly completely ignorant of that. And I could talk about the New Zealand situation right now. It's like, you know, and so because what that is in New Zealand, I think what they're doing, they're dragging out these big government projects and council projects. They're dragging them out as much as possible, so because after the project ends, their salary ends. Okay, and so anyway, there's how this extrapolates out into the micro is like that. The corruption of like social policy and all sorts of things, man. You know, I mean, you talk about the aspirations and how the narcissist goes about their thing, right? Well, let's talk about who is deciding the social policy, and what are the political optics, and what are the nuances of that social policy. And because at the moment New Zealand has no government, we have not had any government because of how the social problems have been able to get hold of the community, and there is this common belief there that they can't be got rid of, you know. And there's all these votes of confidence in organised crime, which is walking away from these things. And so there's the media, they've walked away from these subjects quite enthusiastically. And so, like, going back to what I was saying, you know, this great miracle, which is the revelation of the 8 laws, it stops the ambush artists from having anything to say about it. It retains the focus. It's a means to ensure the focus is retained on subject, which is, see, right now, the Sun and Moon group, Flat Earth, civilization has been populated with a lot of lies, all this, right? This is civilization staying off subject. It stayed off subject, and it's used the relationship between consciousness and anxiety. It's replicated that relationship, and so that's why the system takes the wealth from the silent majority, and it's like a big parasite, right? And that's exactly what anxiety is on the mind, on consciousness. Because while it seems like it's the only thing in the world, it seems like it's the main thing in the mind, actually it's not. It's an idea that has changed the focus. It's changed the focus of consciousness, and so something there had to happen that to retain the focus on the subject, which is consciousness, and stopping these people, stopping anyone changing the subject. And so that's the blessing of the 8 laws, the revelation of the 8 laws, and blessing of the universe. And I'm going to tell all the religious people this is the word of God, because it kind of is the word of God, because it fits so perfectly the human experience, and it answers these problems that religion doesn't even go near. And as has been discussed in other groups, it is something, the revelation of the 8 laws brings in something tangible to talk about, because while anxiety remains some urban myth thing, there is nothing to talk about. Okay, the revelation of the 8 laws brings something tangible to talk about, to something solid to base your understanding on, and as a start point, and you can create an understanding, and then you can extrapolate out from that to your own life. And because of the nature of consciousness, all sorts of data points will come to thee. And a special shout out, I've got to make a special shout out to all those people who have remained faithful while unknowing of Essence's presence, because they are the great ones. And so you, Karen, you're one of them. You not only kept the faith while being unknowing of Essence's presence, you're actually really pushing the issue, man. You're insisting we talk about this, and because I used to think of myself as an assertive Buddhist, and that kind of fits nicely, and so there's the situation. That's the revelation of the 8 laws right there. That is the 8 laws, and that this exists now. We can change the world, because literally, like I was saying, it's not a case of being an elephant in the room. It's actually that the world's living inside an elephant, and so now that there's an option, and it's the perfect option. That's why this amnesty. That's why it's an amnesty. It's the grand amnesty, because it's the perfect exit strategy for the wealthy people to be welcomed. It facilitates welcoming wealthy people back to mainstream society, and it's a perfect thing, man. It's so perfect, and because it gives them solid, hard evidence to work with. It is hard critical data to work with, and not only is it forewarned is forearmed, so they got the win on that score. They can actually change their planning, their future according to that with everyone else, because we all see what goes on when an anxiety sufferer who is promoting their loyalty to the virtue of anxiety comes up against people with courage, right? See, nobody can talk about it. Nobody understands it. Nobody listens. Nobody gets anywhere, and all there is conflict. And so now there's a means to have people acknowledge the 8 laws and the revelation of the 8 laws, and now that can stop happening as well. That can stop happening as well. And so there you go. And so yeah, that's the whole thing of it, man. Just that fact there, that you know, if you want to help young people, and you know what, the revelation of the 8 laws is a tangible thing. It's tangible, okay, and young people love that because young people still value consciousness. They haven't become cynical. They still value consciousness. They're still rolling with consciousness, which is why young people like the music. They like the drugs. They like the car thing. They like motorbikes. They like movies, video games. Man, they are really living it. They are really pushing it, and they love this tangible thing to explain the dysfunction in civilization. And my experience has been wickedly positive, man. when giving people the good news, you know, it's like, yeah. So, what was the question? Thoughts?
Can I just say that?
Yes.
Oh, got an echo.
Jane. Was it me?
Anyone?
Hello?
Oh, it's
Yeah,
gone
I'm
now.
here, Karen. No, I'm here.
Yeah, I thought you were the echo, James, but it wasn't. It was just one of those things. Go on, Patricia.
I forgot what it was now. I get what you're saying, James, and while I'm sat here listening, I'm thinking what you said, Karen, as well about the here and now. The media is always reminding us of terrible things that happened a year ago, you know, the anniversaries of these things, and the fact that we're always looking to the future. Look what technology is going to do in the future. Look what, well, maybe it's happening now, but, you know, we're going to space, all this BS that they give us. And what you were saying about they don't want us to live here and now, to look at all the positive things that we have. You know, I don't remember people saying, this is what this woman did last year, and remembering a good thing that this woman did or a group of people did. It's always about negativity, you know, wars, fear, you know, all that sort of thing. And it just sprung to mind that me personally, I'm going to start, I know it's only Facebook, but I'm going to start posting news that is positive. And not that I post negative things, because I hardly post anything, but I'm going to start my New Year's resolution very early. I'm going to start putting positive things out. Remembering, find any information I can about somebody that's done something good and keep posting.
And that can be very local. That can be very local. And because as you say, this thing of the past, also things from a long way away. If we keep it local and today, let's do that. That's great.
Yeah. It's just that there's so much. I mean, I think, me personally, this is just my opinion, but you're saying about narcissistic, you know, all these sort of negative minded people. I think we all have a potential to be that way, but we choose not to because we have empathy and we have a conscience. They don't.
No, that's right. Yeah.
They don't have it. That's what I was trying to say earlier, and you missed part of the conversation. You know, we need to be aware of we have a lot of negativity in our lives, and we need to understand and realize that we do have negativity. I think it's part and parcel of us in general, but we can choose to ignore it and focus on, unless it, like you said, unless it's for a good thing, you know, if it pushes you forward, you think, right, I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to push forward and I'm going to do what I want to do anyway, even though I've got this negative thought. That's a good thing, you
Yeah,
know, that
no,
we
look,
can use it to our advantage,
it's called courage.
but not in a horrible way. Not like I'm going to get that and I don't care what. I'm going to hurt someone else's feeling,
That's
but
not
do it in a
courage.
positive way.
But
Do it
yeah,
in a positive way. Yeah.
no, I could say, I could speak to what you're saying there, just putting it at another. It's a little bit deeper level, but I've got a video called "Language and the Rabbit Hole Dwellers," and so the thing is that how do people live in this way of things when this has been the way of things for so long? How do we seem, how does a person seem relevant and credible in that situation? And so this is the reason why the media are always talking about the past, because in New Zealand, right, they have these big court cases, right? Like just the other day, there was something there of some hideous violence against a woman, and the actual crime happened like 2 years ago, and they only have just finished the court process. So the court process is very much in keeping with this thing of living in the past, and also, again, as you're saying, I like science fiction and all that, but focusing on this future thing where they have these far off aspirations for society, right? This is also making us live in the past.
James,
Yeah,
you like science fiction?
yes.
You don't like space, though?
Well, that's a different issue.
Because
Science
space. What I mean is, what I'm trying to get to the point is that when you're talking about all this stuff, you've got to understand that the lie is even bigger. What you're talking about is a big part of it, but it's even bigger. You know, we're not a ball when there's no space. There's masses of stuff that's just a lie. The whole thing's a lie.
Well, here's what I think. Science fiction, right? I've always liked science fiction, right? But it's not because it's in space. It's because it's a love of technology, right? It's a love of technology, and I've thought about this, right? I think it's a love of technology because it's what, as consciousness finds itself in this physical realm while we've got these human bodies to run around in. Okay, science fiction is like us. See, we as human beings, this perfect vehicle of the expression of consciousness. Science fiction is what we imagine we can do to acknowledge that, right? Acknowledge consciousness. You know what I mean? It's like consciousness has created us as an expression of itself. And so here we are, human beings, we have created science fiction as an expression of ourselves, which is an acknowledgement of consciousness, right? And that's really my love of science fiction. The imagination. It's a powerful vote of confidence and imagination, and that is consciousness, and this hope. It's a thing of hope, and this is what you're talking about, Patricia. Let's just never mind the negative. Let's just see what we can do with the positive, man. And this is what I think. This is in this format of civilization, with this language we have and these beliefs that have existed, we think are conventional wisdom. Science fiction is the expression of that acknowledgement of consciousness that is permitted within this jurisdiction of the 8 laws of anxiety. And so I think the thing there that, to me, space travel is a complete waste of time. This whole idea of it, it's just a complete waste of time. We have everything we need here to achieve every experience we could possibly have. You know what I mean? And so it's a giant myth. It's a giant myth. And so, but that's the thing for science fiction. That's what I think it is. and this extrapolates down to video games, I think, as well. It is an acknowledgement of consciousness that we create this expression that is itself an acknowledgement of consciousness. And I think technology is the means we can express consciousness as consciousness has expressed itself by creating reality for the human being and the earth and this environment, right? As I say, the flat earth, I don't want to go near that, because I appreciate so much that we actually exist and we have this place and we are experiencing this experience where we can talk and we can make each other smile, and we can contribute to the expansion of consciousness in other people. You know what I mean? And so that whole book,
James,
yeah.
Does it really mean that we really have been very uneducated?
Yeah, well, that's right. No, that's the thing of it. Well, you think about why do poor people stay poor? And why do criminals keep just going back to being criminals? And see, here's the thing, right? What is preventing the value of education? What is stopping a person valuing education, right? To where they would stay where they are and they're only worried about getting better at staying where they are. Okay, so something is preventing this person from valuing education, and that is because they think anxiety is virtuous, because anxiety does not want people to learn anything. As Patricia said, Patricia, the political optics of the system is that they actually want to kill us, but they're just not going to. Well, that's the anxiety, and that's the situation in the micro, in the mind, where that's expressed by the person is stopped. They don't value education. That's the result of it. You know what I mean? And that's at the micro. And
yeah, because
so
I keep picking up on you that you're a very articulate person. So you always place your words to what each.
Yeah.
This is what you're trying to do, so that people understand. And you're very articulate with how you place those words, because each word means something. So there's no point putting a bummer one in there and just ruining it.
Well, that's it. No, that's right. I've had a lot of practice. Really, I've been on this path a long time, and vocabulary is wonderful. Vocabulary is wonderful because vocabulary comes with here's what comes with vocabulary: tact. Okay, pace. You had to pace out what you're saying, and it's a thing of art. It's a thing of art. Art is only the expression of consciousness, and that's all there is to it. And the more articulate the art is, the more tasty and amazing it seems, right? And it's like, this is all about the character of consciousness. And so, yes, I've strived to hone the skills, man. You know what I mean? And so I'm quite pleased about that. And so yeah, this business of how to articulate. Okay, so how has the aspirations of consciousness in this civilization? How has the aspiration of consciousness been able to be expressed? Okay, and so there you get this fuddled, muddled, garbled communication that we have, and this is why we have science fiction. It's in that format, Karen. You see, okay. And so only the highest few political optics of science fiction actually are the reason we have science fiction. All the rest of it is just like, ancillary things. And But you talk about science fiction. Well, Lord of the Rings is science fiction. Lord of the Rings, and so when you look at things from the perspective of the political optics, okay, that really helps articulate. That really helps articulate what you're saying when you're talking to people that are like uninitiated, right? To you know, when I say uninitiated, it is proof of how valuable education is. It is the point of it. It is the actual end result of it. It is the reason for it, and it is why it is actually a high value thing, education, because the value of education, we call it that in this realm, the physical realm. The value of education is something else in consciousness realm. Okay, this is all there is. To increase consciousness, you must engage with the new. You know, to increase consciousness, you must engage with the new, and that's where you get your growth, your expansion of consciousness. And see, this is the primary goal of anxiety, is to stop that. By it keeps occupying center stage for everyone. There's no opportunity to do something new when anxiety is center stage all the time, right? And so there again is another instance, a new instance actually pointed out of how the same thing is fitting every single, you know, that's it, that there, how anxiety occupies the center stage to stop people embracing new things. Okay, that's the whole war against good and evil, as they say, right there. And you see, yeah. And so that's the thing of it, Karen. And you know, this is why I'm really, really pleased to be able to speak to you guys about this. Because each new time I talk about this, it refines it. You know, you get a little bit better at articulating what you want to say, how you want to express this, and it's a just practice makes perfect thing. And
yeah, because you want to get this out to the people, don't you?
yes, I do. And so now this is there's been several other times I've come on. Today's been really this. So I'll look at this, because you're putting things in terms of, you know, the conversation is now, it's not so well, today it's more a case of the 8 laws being the central kind of a thing, and whereas before it's a kind of a case of networking, you know, and applying the 8 laws perspective to social situations. And it's like the thing with the narcissism, you know, showing up in other places. It's actually the whole reason that this way of things exists is because it's anxiety has corrupted consciousness, and so civilization has followed that way of doing things, and consciousness seemingly doesn't exist. And so this is something that this has to change. This has to change. And so yeah. Today I'll be going out. I've got something to do, but I'll be going out and I'll be handing out this flyer. And that is always amazing.
Well, after this hangout, you're going out, you mean?
Yeah, I've got to go to a job interview thing. It's at a temp agency, right? Yeah, then go out and I'll just hand them out. You know, because the political party thing is for the that's the vehicle. See, that's within conventional wisdom. So people might be interested in that, because Christchurch here, there's some very serious problems in this place, and it's largely been caused by the people in control of things have an aversion to communicating. They have an aversion to communicating, and when they have an aversion to communicate, they like to do things a certain way, and that's exactly like how anxiety has driven the development of civilization, not consciousness. And so this has been going on a long time, because there's all these big projects, like I was saying, that have taken way too long, and there's something very obviously very, very wrong about this. So I'm going to roll up to the local Christchurch council with this, and I'm going to give them this, because this is everything wrong with the way they communicate. It's everything wrong with how they communicate. It's everything wrong with how they perceive problems. It's everything wrong with how they perceive solutions. It's everything wrong with how they perceive other people. Okay, because in this situation where they believe that anxiety is virtuous, right? And being responsible for public money gives people big anxieties, I think, right? And so to include something to them that will probably stop that, I've got to try. I'm going to try this, man. And then there's all, you know, I'll just hand them out anyway, and I might make a video later on about it. Because the fact is, if you know, the whole existence of anxiety is reliant on it being politically credible, it being perceived as politically credible. And if people don't believe that anxiety is politically credible, if they can figuratively hold it in their hand and look at it, it's only this small little thing, and that's not politically credible. Just tell me how much can be changed if we do that. And so, because the media, the government, and the local council, they're all governed by the belief that anxiety is virtuous. And how they have an aversion to communicating is actually the very obvious thing that is going on in their meetings, and that's evidenced in what they say in the media. It's evidenced by what the questions the media ask, you know, and that's what questions the media are asked. That is irrefutable evidence of their political bias, according to that relationship between them and the government and them and the people. They are completely biased, you know? And so, yeah, this is something I'm into. So that's the whole political thing I'm doing. That's a whole different conversation, really. Yeah.
That's okay. I'm sure you'll come back on Sun and Moon and tell us a bit more.
Oh, yeah, the report. Because you know what, Karen, here's the honest truth, man. This is like straight truth from the universe, man. This is going to work as a political party in this situation. This 8 laws is a tangible explanation and qualification of anxiety as it functions, as it has manipulated the beliefs of the world. And if I want to start a political party with that as the philosophy behind all of the social perspective, and you know, I think I'll win. I think I'm going to win whether or not I'm in it or not, because the leader of the National Party, which is the other main party that were in government actually before the election, he's coming to town here on Thursday and yet to tomorrow, and I'm going to go and see him. I'm going to go and see him, and I'm going to talk to him about this. And I can say that, you know what, I'm going to win this election if I'm in it or not. If the people know about this, I'm going to win whether I'm in it or not. And you can do it over there. This can happen anywhere, because you see, the culture shock event of birth makes this a uniform problem to anywhere where any Western country, you know, it's the fact, man. It's the fact, because the same thing exists all over the place. This is why the Middle East won't stop fighting. You know, it's because of
It's bigger than them, isn't it? It's all a game.
It's the game. It's the game. It's the game, man. It's like the news every night is crime, politics, finance, sport. Crime,
Which
politics,
all leads to anxiety.
Yeah, but that's anxiety's existence. Anxiety is a criminal, political, financial sportsman. Hey, and so these narcissists and anxiety, people think anxiety is virtuous. They actually treat life like a sport, and they treat money like it's a sport, and they treat people like it's a sport. And so that's a kind of interesting kind of analogy there that's come about, because the news is the same every night. And I don't know over in England there where what you got on the news, but every night over here it's crime, politics, finance. No, crime, politics, war, finance, sport. Every night, the same order every night, and this is just replicating anxiety.
Yeah, when you came back, that's what Patricia was saying. She'd like to actually start a Facebook group all about positive news.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. See, that's the thing. You know, this is the glaring, obvious thing, is that mostly everything is about the belief that anxiety is virtuous. And as you know, you say science fiction, Karen, I've got to say that this is the most science fiction thing ever in the history of the world, man. This thing here, the revelation of the 8 laws, right, and how the human race have been entrapped by this inside the elephant in the living room. This is, and considering consciousness, and considering how we're the vehicle of consciousness, right? We are the most science fiction thing possible, really. I mean, that's just the fact, man. I mean, because I've been waiting, right? I've been really interested, right, to hear the speculation about the flat Earth, right? How it came to be. How it came to be. This is like astonishing to me. And it's entirely in keeping with how you get this ultimate being, this superior being, supreme being, which is the human being, because we are the ultimate vehicle of consciousness, has been hijacked by anxiety. And it's worked out that nobody's ever worked this out. And it makes anxiety the most organised criminal ever. So
then
this is
you get that there. Then what happens? Everybody's got to go to prison.
well, that's what anxiety would want. No, but that's where we are, Karen. That's where we are. The belief that anxiety is virtuous has made a prison out of the whole experience that we could have. And as per the language, as per the means to express consciousness, where this, like for science fiction, is an expression of consciousness that we're allowed to do. You know, what might we do if we were allowed to express consciousness at a whole lot? And so this is the whole experience of everything. And what has happened to the language, where we have instinctively learnt to conceptualize the process of consciousness according to the means to express that, which is language. How would we be if we actually expressed 100% of consciousness? We had language to support expressing 100% of consciousness, and our civilization was a product of that. Because at the moment, our civilization is a product of the language that's been used, because the language is a uniform thing for all development, all problems, all solutions, all relationships, you know, everything. You know, it's all been created through language, and it's been maintained through language. Beliefs are maintained through language. So if we change the language we use, we can have a way, way different experience. And that's something I'm working on. Yeah, it's inventing a language which is not as simple as propositions, I tell you. But that's just saying, I'm acknowledging that this is reality. This is reality, as I see it. It's true. It's actually happening. It's observable, and you can have faith in it. It's reliable, and so this is the great days we're living, Karen, where we're having this talk, and other people are talking and listening, and there's a high value of change because we don't feel that this is a right thing to be doing. I mean, here's the latest. Can I tell you the latest, right? Yemen. Now, how can the poorest country in the world be having a war against the richest country in the world and winning, and because they're still at it a couple of years later, and now they're telling us that the poor Yemenis rebel group are using tanks and artillery. So I'd like to know where they got their money from to get all that.
It's part of the game, though, James.
Yeah, but someone is
because we don't know if any of it's true. Because where are we watching it from? The television.
I know. But you see, what they're saying, it's like the narcissist. If you step back from the narcissist, you can easily see he is a BS artist and he wants to mess with your head. Okay, it's easy to see that. So you're right. Is that true? Are they doing that? So you can see by what they're saying, the real political landscape of what's going on. And it's really, the whole thing with war is exactly the same thing as the relationship between a narcissist.
We don't even know if any of the wars were ever real, rather than planned in a game, the Matrix game. It's all the Matrix game.
Well, World War II was declared by the Jewish people on the 24th of March 1933 in the Daily Express newspaper. Big headline: the whole Jewish nation goes to war against Germany because Hitler wanted to repair their economy. See, that was being decimated. The economy was decimated.
I think what it is, we've all believed, as we've grown up, that there's Germany and there's America and there's the UK. But when you actually work it out, where we are today, nobody's separate. They're all in the same banking system. They're all run by the same people. It's all in the same game. They've all got heart. They've all got CERN. They're all in it together. There are countries that they are at war with are the countries that are resisting being part of this one world order thing. And that's what's going on. Anybody who's being annihilated wasn't in on it. And they're probably going to need it afterwards, because they'll need infrastructure afterwards, and they'll need banking systems. And so it's horrible.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what happened in Germany. Because I've got a question. I'd ask them a question. How come the world has been told that Hitler was a Jewish bolshevik, right? And so the whole Middle East, and Hitler just wanted to look after, and that's why he was the big enemy. Exactly as you're saying, and that's see how it's a replication of the function of anxiety, of the event of anxiety. The banking system wanted to attack consciousness, because really Hitler was channeling consciousness, right? To actually have the courage to stand up and be the leader of the country and speak directly to these problems. Okay, this is what consciousness does, right? And so that's why he became the big enemy. And this business of the establishment in the West, actually, they are the ones who caused this. They are the ones who caused this, and it's like the First World War. How did an assassination in Europe there cause the First World War? It's unbelievable. And so, as you're saying, there's a very long history of the replication of the function of anxiety. Because you think about the war thing, you think about that, how that's happened. Okay, that's not that much different from someone who initiates a conflict in a relationship. How someone gets all cranky and then starts fucking raising their voice, and it's like all really concerned, and it's like, and this is all that. This it's virtually a carbon copy of governments and how the relationship between governments, and this is a completely separate thing from the people. Because as you say, Karen, we're all in this together. Actually, let's talk about all the peoples of the world who are Caucasians, because we're all Caucasian. Okay, and this is something that needs to be said, man. This is something that needs to be said.
Yeah, you said this before, but I don't know if I don't do that one right now, because the whole point about this waking up is that we're not separate anymore. We together. It doesn't matter what race, what colour.
Yep.
All that doesn't matter anymore.
Well, that's what the revelation of the 8 laws, and its acknowledgement of consciousness, and it's proving that
and coming together with that consciousness.
Yeah, every human being is cut from the same cloth. Every single human. It's impossible to be alive, and you have to. The only reason people can be alive is because they have consciousness, and because party to thinking, we got this physical thing where the brain operates all the systems in the body in a completely uniform. It's quite a miraculous engineering thing, the human body. I tell you what, it's really it's astonishingly complex and amazing how it works. It's completely amazing. And here's the thing: if there was an alien sitting in, they looking at the human race, right? They would just think that we're the most amazing thing in the world. They'd be completely gobsmacked because we're unique in the big scheme of things. And it doesn't matter which one you're looking at, which human being you're looking at, that is still a great, perfect example of this amazing, amazing thing, which is this vehicle of expression of consciousness. And so on that level, definitely at that level, we are all equals, and we are all miraculous, and we're all the supreme being. And that's the fact of it, man. But according to the big political push in the last 15 years, it's been a giant lie on that score, because of the concepts of respect and courtesy, we're all equals as well, right? And so that they want us to be all equals and multicultural, and they've never said that. They've never even said that. And so I know they've got the biggest skeletons in the closet that you can have, you know what I mean? And so, and this is all
it's completely lied to the people.
This is true, and it's exactly replicating anxiety, how anxiety does its thing. It's exactly the kind of myths and legends anxiety sells people. It is the same perception of the threat. It talks people into a perception of a threat, which is all the that's all the foreign policy of the US ever talks about, and England. And so this is why, again, it is just replicating the function of anxiety. And this is a miraculous thing.
Can I just say, James, remember I said that we go for a couple of hours? It's a couple of hours. It's midnight here in the UK.
Oh, I love you, Karen.
Oh, I know, but I hate stopping you, but I know that you'll come back, and this is like there's more of this to come, more of your project and what you want to say, and
quantity.
It's only a pause right now because you'll be back shortly, and you'll be talking about it more.
Yeah. But quality is much more important than quantity.
It's quite a deep thing we're talking about here, so sometimes it's best not to go on forever when it's such a deep thing.
Right. That's why I think they should stop playing the news, the sports news all the time, every hour. It's cheapening it, and it's the same thing. And so we can finish. And this has been amazingly amazing, Karen, to be able to talk and to put things in terms that we've put things in terms today. This is an amazing thing.
Yeah, I think I can see that you're getting a bit more confident about things. Not that you weren't confident because you come on Hangouts, but you're getting a bit more relaxed into what you're saying.
Well, that's right. And to come to terms with the point that we need to retain the focus on the subject and having a means to prevent these ambush artists from taking over what the focus is. Because that came out today, and that's you only get the evolution of understanding. That's the only thing that will provide better articulation. If you are able to conceptualize the focus, what's being focused on better. So I knew this was going to be a stonkingly awesome talk. I just knew, Karen.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us, James. And you'll be back to talk more.
Yeah, no, sure.
And thanks to everybody in the chat room for listening and watching. And Patricia, do you want to say anything? Because you've got your microphone on.
Yeah, James, it's been really interesting. Thank you ever so much for coming on.
You're
And
welcome.
I love you. And I love everyone in the chat. And Karen. I know that sounds like I'm saying it sarcastically, but no, I'm not. I do. I really love everyone. Take care.
Yeah,
Sorry.
love you too, Patricia and James, and everybody in the chat room. We're back. Well, somehow, I'm not sure exactly when and what, with on Thursday with John Smith Global Lies and Roxanne. So I'm not sure if we'll do a bit of a hangout or whether I'll just put a video up. But anyway, that's what's happening on Thursday. I'm meeting Roxanne and John Smith. Anyway, thank you to James. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, chat room. And see you all soon.
And have a good day, James.
Yeah, Patricia.
Have a nice day, James, giving out your leaflets.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, cool. I'll do that. Yeah. Sweet. Meet that politician dude tomorrow. That'll be a mind blower. That's got to be worth a video.
Yeah, we'll put one out, James. Anyway,
All right.
thank you, James, and good luck.
Okay.